Francesca Gino had made it. She had it all. Book deals, professorship, making an impact with her research, until the 16th of June 2023. Stephanie Lee shared a story that would start to turn Francesca's world upside down. Future books postponed, professorship suspended, accused of falsifying research. But she isn't the only one under the microscope with a much larger story hidden in the background. This is the story of a $25 million defamation lawsuit and a dark truth behind the academic industry. The Italian-born behavioural scientist got her BA degree in 2001 and MS and PhD degrees in 2004. She continued in the academic industry, getting positions at Harvard University, Carnegie Mellon University, University of North Carolina, London Business School, then back to Harvard with various positions: Associate Professor, Tandem Family Professor, Unit Head, Business Professor, co-chairs at Business Harvard School in Executive Education Programs. This is also where she earned an Honorary Master of Arts in 2015. During that time, she amassed an impressive collection of over 140 academic articles from 2007 until now, shared her expertise in various business articles from 2006 until now, publishing 3 books, her most recent award-winning book from 2018, The Rebel Talent. So how did she fall, and fall so far? First, I need to briefly explain how academic publishing works. You can't just write an article or do research and publish your findings. There is a process, a rather long process with lots of moving parts, but all we need to know right now is that the research should be checked. A peer or set of peers looks over it for mistakes or errors. And once a paper is published, it is rarely retracted. According to this database, 4 in every 1,000 papers are retracted. So once you're through peer review, you're pretty safe, unless people like this take an interest. The Data Colada blog weren't happy with some of Francesca's work and did some reviewing of their own. Launched in September 2013 with over 100 previous posts, this wasn't anything new. In fact, Dan Ariely, a co-author of some of Francesca's previous work, had been reviewed before. But these 4 posts hit Francesca hard. A paper published back in 2012 was all about dishonesty. It has now been retracted because someone made up data in one of the studies. Dan Ariely was the supervisor, which is what the Data Colada blog discussed previously. But another study's data seems to have been tampered with. So a paper about dishonesty had 2 different people in 2 different studies tamper with data. The 3 studies in the paper suggest people are less likely to act dishonestly when they sign an honesty pledge at the top of a form rather than at the bottom of a form, finding a drop from over-reporting their math puzzle performance from 79% to 37%, and lowered the over-reporting puzzles from 3.94 to 0.77. So the top was significantly better. You might remember the bell curve from school, that is how academics find a significant difference. But how do you know if something was faked? Well, the Data Colada team got access to versions of the original data. Looks well sorted down the A column except from some outliers. Oh, and a duplicate of a participant number. So either those rows were added after the sort, changed after the sort, or someone sorted all the rows except those ones. If you show those outliers compared to other results, you start to see a trend. The hypothesis was that people would be less honest when signing at the top, and those red points certainly emphasise that. According to the post, Francesca was the only author involved in the data collection of this study. This 2015 paper used 5 studies suggesting that experiencing inauthenticity leads to people feeling impure. The hypothesis and results found that people wanted cleaning products after arguing against their beliefs. Study 4 of this paper was the blog's focus. This time the spreadsheet is showing Harvard as a school year. Not what you would expect. Maybe senior, junior, sophomore, even numbers like 1, 5 or 2010 would make sense. But Harvard? Again, looking at the outliers we see a pattern. They seem to sway the stats. Francesca or someone posing as Francesca posted the data. 2014 paper, 5 studies. It suggested dishonesty can lead to creativity. Somewhat ironic in this story. Lo and behold, the results support the hypothesis. If you look for the sorted numbers in the spreadsheet, compare any outliers, the results are drastically impacted. The blog actually received the data from Francesca herself for this study. Then, to the most recent paper from 2020, is a promotion mindset better than prevention? As predicted, the results found that participants felt more impure about the networking event in the prevention condition than in the promotion condition. Networking feels nicer when you go in hoping for something, but study 3A was the focus here. This time, with a mix of numbers and words in the spreadsheet, the bloggers thought the prevention and promotion numbers were suspicious, so they dug a little deeper. Now, the paper's authors were not interested in the words, but if someone was to change the number data, they may leave out the word data. And for some reason, those ratings between 2 and 3, the impure feeling, wrote more positive things. Why give a high score of impurity when you felt good about it? Again, comparing the outliers tells a familiar story. But stranger than that, when you remove the outliers, the data reverses the significance. People used more positive words to describe the networking event in the prevention condition. There are too many questions with the data for this to hold much weight, but an interesting finding nonetheless. Unknowingly to many blog readers, Harvard had actually been doing its own investigation, which is where this story ramps up a bit. Francesca made a statement on LinkedIn, followed by a second statement where she states, "I have never, ever falsified data or engaged in research misconduct of any kind," which was the same day she filed a lawsuit against Harvard University and the 3 independent researchers in the Data Colada blog. But Harvard has apparently $50 billion or so to support them and the legal battles. The Data Colada team had to start a GoFundMe page with scientists from around the world supporting them. But up to $600,000 in legal fees is not easy to come by. Francesca's counts against Harvard mainly focus on their handling of the investigation and results. She claimed she wasn't given enough time to go over the 180-plus page document from the MCG investigation. Issues around Harvard's speedy creation of the new policy created purely for Francesca Gino. Her plausible explanations for the perceived anomalies being somewhat ignored. Those being her research assistants handled the data, despite her seemingly taking the credit. It wasn't original raw data, as that doesn't exist anymore, if I understand correctly. There was no proof of research misconduct. Data had been collected on paper, so all those other rows just happened to be in order. And the out-of-sort data was not evidence of fraud. She further claims males being caught doing similar things were not punished to the same extent, one faking data on a paper, one pushing for cryptocurrency he could benefit from. Issues that sound like Harvard made some questionable decisions, but I think she's arguing her stature, prestige, fame shouldn't impact the punishment. Some will agree, some won't, but the peer review process has lots of room for improvement, and most of those doing anti-fraud work do it on top of their day jobs. Yes, Harvard have a mess to sort out, but the Data Colada blog's involvement is worrying and exposes some of the issues with the academic industry. Lawsuits like this bully people out of science. Instead of publishing a rebuttal or counter-argument, critics' careers could be tarnished, lives tossed around, financial burden too much for some to bear. Publish or perish is a motto many academics will be familiar with. If you don't publish enough papers, you may lose funding, or worse, your job. People like Francesca need to publish papers. But if criticism of those papers is seen as defamatory or as a vicious smear campaign, how does scientific conversation continue? And more worryingly to me, she wants everything taken down: the blog posts, public statements, social media posts, no future posts about it, and for them to put up apologies. Retraction Watch documents issues like this weekly. Free speech is an ongoing global conversation. Fake news and misinformation is all over the internet. So if anything, the academic industry should be rising above it, but in a good way, not fostering and potentially encouraging a system to share misleading, oversimplified science. An anti-slap statute has been suggested to help with these sorts of lawsuits. Change has been called for years. I am eager to see some things change. But if those at the top of the academic pyramid keep moving up, stay there, and push those at the bottom down, who is really the one that should be filing a lawsuit? And how can we have a culture that encourages criticism and critique if there's going to be lawsuits involved like this? This is just an introduction story to the academic industry. Law is not my area of expertise, so I don't know how that will pan out, but the academic publishing and research industry, or machine, is something I'm very invested to learn more about. I want to say thank you to those in the Discord for contributing to this conversation and helping me do some of the research behind the scenes, and if you're interested in contributing to the conversation, I've left a link in the description below.